We're going to make our own tomato sauce. I have some olive oil in this pan, and we're going to start with some onions, and we're just going to get them going and sizzling away. And it's a great start to any sauce that you're going to make, especially because we're using canned tomatoes and we really want to get rid of that canned taste. We want to add layers of flavors within that to kind of make it's our own little sauce. I'm using red onions today, but you could use white onions, you could use scallions, really whatever you'd like. And I just dropped an onion on me, so we're already doing really good, but it's purple and it's Kansas State worthy, so it's okay. Got my Power Cat shirt on. Alright, so the onion's starting to saute. We're going to turn our heat up a little bit and add the tomatoes. And this is a can of stewed tomatoes. It just basically means it's a whole tomato, but they've been stewed, so they've broken down a little bit, and they still have the juice with them. And this is an Italian blend one, so it has garlic, oregano, and basil in it as well.
For anyone who hasn't seen iCarly, can you explain the spaghetti tacos on the show?
Yeah, so the spaghetti tacos in the show is just like a regular taco shell that you'd get that would come in the box, and they're like the yellow corn shells. And then they would make spaghetti, and then they would just stuff the tacos shells with the spaghetti, and you get a nice crunch from the shell and some deliciousness from the pasta, and that would be what it was. It was pretty, I mean, it's very inventive for sure. You get meshing cultures and two things that you probably wouldn't think to put together, but worked really well. And I liked the idea, so why not, you know, make it into something fun with your own shells. So our tomatoes have been added to the onions, and as you can see, there's still the whole tomatoes, and then there's the tomato juice, and we have our onions in here too, but we're going to let it cook for a little bit, so it's going to break down the tomatoes even more, and then we're going to kind of mash it so it's a nice cohesive dish. If you like saucier tomato sauce or pasta sauce, you could just do tomato sauce, even get a can of pasta sauce if you don't want to make your own marinara, and if you like it a little thicker or chunkier, you could get diced tomatoes too, or just do the whole tomatoes like I'm doing and break them up a little bit. Because as they get warm, they will just break up on their own. It's pretty nice that way.
And how easy would you say this recipe is for college students?
Super easy, especially if you decide you want to buy your own shells, then you really don't have to do any cooking. I mean, you could even buy your own sauce, and so then it's just adding that to cooked pasta and stuffing in some shells. Super easy, very cost effective too. This can of tomatoes was like 50 cents, I think, at the grocery store. And the pasta, a pound of it's like $1. And the shells would be the most expensive thing. But if you make your own shells, it's actually cheaper than buying them pre-made.
Why did you opt for not buying a pre-made sauce?
I just like the taste of making my own sauce a little bit better. And it's more cooking involved, which I always like to make myself work a little harder for my food just because it's fun. But if you're in a time crunch or you have one of your favorite pasta sauces, Giada De Laurentiis makes amazing sauce out of like hers and Mario Batali. You can buy those ones pre-made already, and you know, Food Network stars know what they're doing with their pasta sauce, so that's always a good option too. So our tomatoes are bubbling away. I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit. As you can see too, I'm using a spatula for this. This is a non-stick cooking pan. And if you use anything that has wire, like a whisk, it will actually scrape the pan and ruin it. My mom taught me that, to make sure that you use the appropriate utensils for your appropriate pans, so you don't wreck it, especially when it's, you know, your mom's pan and not your own. You know, you want to make it nice for her. So it works really well to break up the tomatoes this way, and then you're also saving the pan. And now that it is bubbling, we're going to add our seasonings. So I have salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, and then I also have a little bit of sugar in here. Tomatoes, because of their acidity, the sugar really makes the sauce come together cohesively and have a nice balance of flavor to get rid of that acid in the tomatoes and bring it out in a better way with the sugar. And because it's a canned tomato, we really want to cook off the canned taste. You can kind of taste the tin sometimes. And this is a good way with the seasonings and making the sauce cook longer on the stove. It's going to help get rid of that. So we're just going to sprinkle it in. It smells really good. Yum. And buying the tomatoes that already have the basil, oregano, and garlic in it is a great way to add more flavor. And if you're in a time crunch, you don't have to have the tomato sauce cooking all day, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, taking some Roma tomatoes, cutting them up, and letting the sauce cook all day or in a slow cooker all day, if you are feeling adventurous, go for it. Highly recommend it.
How would you incorporate meatballs into this recipe?
That's a really good way to do it. If you have pre-made meatballs, or you could bake them in the oven. Otherwise, you can actually cook meatballs in tomato sauce. It's bubbling right now, as you can see, so it's very hot. And if you put raw meatballs in it and then cover it, they'll actually cook on their own in steam. It's a really good idea and less messy than trying to fry them. I've tried that before, and you get oil everywhere. If you don't mind to clean up, that's great. Baking them is really good too. You could bake them. I've done it in a cupcake tin before, like a mini cupcake tin. It holds the meatballs in their shape really well, and then you don't get oil everywhere either. It's a really good idea. You could also do this recipe with like fettuccine alfredo, or pesto sauce would be another really good one if you want to switch it up a little bit. And whatever your favorite sauce is, or anything really, works really well with that. Then you could like chop up stuff too to make it look like tacos, like basil for lettuce. And you could, we're going to add some cheese later, which would obviously be like the cheese too. You could add more onions if you wanted, and then it's like a legit, like a taco and pasta kind of thing. That's a good way.
How much time would you usually need to reserve for this recipe?
We're going to make this completely in 20 minutes today. So really only 20, half an hour, depending on. The longest thing actually is getting your pasta water to boil, which putting a lid on it is really going to help with that. I have it on high heat and the lid, so it's going to go a lot faster because all of the heat is kept in the pasta pot. Okay, so we're going to let that keep cooking a little bit. And I have my boiling water because of the help. Oh, look, steam. It's like a facial. It's very nice. Because we have the cover, it boils a lot faster. Today I am using angel hair pasta. It cooks super fast, 3 to 5 minutes. But also it's a little easier to eat. Spaghetti is great. You could use linguine. I mean, if you have penne around the house or any other noodle, that's completely fine too. This is a good way if you have leftover spaghetti from the night before. Putting it in taco shell kind of changes it up a little bit, so it's not just the regular spaghetti.
If you wanted to be super fancy, could you make your own spaghetti?
Oh, absolutely. I actually made my own pasta once. I did it last summer at my house, and I felt really, I mean, it's a commitment because you have to let that set for a while after you make the dough, and then we had a hand crank, so it wasn't electric either. You have to press it out, and then you crank it, and you keep going, and you keep making it thinner and thinner as you go. And then you have to cut the pasta, but it's so worth it. If you have the time and the ambition, go for it. You get a little muscle too by the hand crank. So I broke my angel hair in half just because when you add it to the shell, or anytime you eat spaghetti, sometimes it's harder when it's longer, and it will, expand when it adds to the water since it's dry pasta. So I like to break it up just so it's a little easier to eat. You want to make sure you stir your spaghetti too because it will stick together really easily. I added salt to our water as well. One of the other things I've learned from the Food Network stars, especially Giada, is that you want to salt your water because that's the only way you're going to add flavor to the noodles themselves beyond adding them to their sauce. That's a good start for sure. Anne Burrell likes to make it really, really salty. Like she'll put tablespoons of salt in there. And depending on your palate, if that's good for you, go for it. Just more flavor.
Could you incorporate brown sugar into this recipe?
Yeah, I recommend granulated sugar just because it's the regular sugar. The brown sugar will give it a little bit of a smokier taste because of the molasses, but whatever sugar you have on hand is really good. The point is really just to offset the acidity of the tomatoes themselves, so whatever sugar you have, agave is okay. You could add honey too. Just be careful, you don't want it to burn. Sugar burns really easily, especially honey, which is a higher sweetness value. So as you can see, our angel hair is already getting super soft just because it's such a thin pasta. It cooks so fast. And our sauce is bubbling away. It's getting thicker as well as it cooks, and that's part of it boiling. It's going to help reduce it a little bit. I like thicker tomato sauce, but that's a personal preference. The beauty of making it yourself, too, is you can control that, how thick or thin it is. You can always add a little bit of pasta water if you want to thin it out a little more. The pasta water, when you cook the pasta, it actually releases its starch, so that's going to help thicken your sauce too, but make it a little thinner because you're adding that extra liquid.
So for those who are just joining?
Absolutely. So today we are making spaghetti tacos. Right now I have some tomatoes and onions and seasonings bubbling away on my stove for my homemade marinara sauce. We also have angel hair pasta in boiling water over here. And we're going to make our own pasta or taco shells for the spaghetti tacos. You could buy store-bought ones as well, and that will just kind of make it a little more homey, and we're fully making it ourselves, which is fun. I'm using flour tortillas today, but you could use corn, or if you're gluten intolerant, corn would be a good option for that, or any other. I think there's like even rice taco shells nowadays. They've really been able to expand the gluten-free market. Okay, the best way to see if your pasta is done is just to taste it.
Aspen asks, what type of meat would be best for this?
You could do meatballs. You could also do ground beef like you would do for a taco. If you did fettuccine as a sauce, I would add some chicken to it. That'd be really good. You could also add bacon or pancetta. That's always delicious, almost like a carbonara idea. Yeah, you really could do whatever protein you like. I've actually seen tofu that's been able to be ground up like ground meat if you are vegan or if you don't necessarily, if you're a vegetarian or any kind of thing, or you want a different protein. That's a fun one to do as well.
And Kiara says, my mom likes to use vegetable noodles. Would that change the flavor a bunch?
No, it really wouldn't. Vegetable noodles are great. They have spinach. There's also tomato ones. The tomato would bring out the flavor of the tomatoes themselves. Really, you just want that feel of the spaghetti with the crunchiness of the shell. That's the biggest point of the difference between the two. So whatever noodles you have is a great idea. And if you did the spinach one, pesto would be a great option too as your sauce because those two flavors go really well together. Okay, let's try our noodle again. We don't want this to cook all the way because we're actually going to add it to our sauce. And that's how it's going to finish cooking. We'll do it a little bit al dente, as they say.
Aspen asked again, could you add any type of beans, like black beans?
Yeah, you could. That'd be even more of a Mexican feel to it. I've made actually corn sauce before too. That'd be an option. Whatever protein you're interested in and whatever you think would taste good, go for it and just kind of add your flavors within that. You could do a Mexican style spaghetti as well with the black beans and more of a tomato with some cilantro sauce instead of basil. That's going to give you more of a Mexican feel to it. And our pasta is done. I don't want it to overcook because it's so thin, so I'm going to drain it real quick.
Aspen asked again, could you use avocado noodles?
Avocado noodles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not going to cook them the same as you would for regular noodles, but if you want to do that, that's a great option. You could also do zucchini noodles. I've made those before with a spiralizer, where you just spin it around. You can do the same thing with like sweet potatoes or something if you want non-starch, but still that starch feel with the zucchini noodles. You could do that for sure.
And could you explain what you're doing with the pan while it's warming?
Yes, so I'm just kind of stirring around. This is how I like to do it. I feel kind of cool. Let's see if I can get it to turn. There we go. And I think I got it on me. That's the way it's supposed to be, right? You're supposed to make a mess in the kitchen. Just to kind of keep the heat moving around. We don't want it to burn, especially with a little bit of sugar in there. It's very easy for it to caramelize a little too much and it gets a little burnt. Okay, so while the sauce just thickens a little bit more, we're going to make our shells. And my friend Noah is going to come. I think he's here.
I know you'll see somehow the world will change for me and be so wonderful.
My friend Noah's a singer. He's pretty good at it.
It's all for real. I'm telling you just how I feel. I feel hungry.
I feel hungry too.
Yeah.
This is a good thing to do.
That's the iCarly theme song, you know, tying it in with what?
Yeah. We gotta bring it full circle.
Yeah, of course.
I miss the old Nickelodeon. Those were some good shows that we had.
Those were.
Alright, so now we're going to make our shells for our spaghetti tacos, and you're going to help me with this.
Okay, great.
So in this little bowl, I have some olive oil as well as some Italian seasoning. We have a handy-dandy little pastry brush, and you could just use your fingers if you want to spread around the oil, but we're going to be all fancy with that.
Of course.
So just dip the brush in the olive oil and then spread it.
Sorry.
Move your hand, Noah.
Sorry.
So, Mallory, we have a lot of questions. If you can add lettuce, mushrooms, or zucchini to your sauce or this recipe?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna do it on both sides.
Yeah, you're going to do it on both sides, and after that you're going to fold it and we're going to put it in our cupcake tin, and that's how we're going to make our shells. Yeah, you could add mushrooms. That's a really good way to add to your sauce. When you put the onions in, right after they start to caramelize, if you add the mushrooms, they're going to release a little more water, so you want to caramelize the onions first. Yeah, that's perfect. Actually, we're going to move it this way so we can fit four.
Okay, gotcha.
We're making our own shells, guys. They're going to puff up, too, because it's flour instead of corn. But yeah, that'd be a great way to do it. You can add zucchini to really whatever vegetables you want. You could add carrots. That's the carrots and celery are also an option to do. Whatever you feel. Like I say, veg it up if you got it. Today we're gonna go very basic, but it's really cool because it's such a simple recipe. You really have freedom to make it however you want to make it.
Noah, what's your relationship with iCarly and spaghetti tacos?
What's my relationship? I've never actually had spaghetti tacos before. I always thought they were really weird, but when Mallory told me she was going to make them, I got excited because it made me feel a little nostalgic. I loved iCarly, and I think it came out when I was in 5th grade. Ooh, God, I feel old.
You are. It's okay.
I am old.
It's okay, we're both old.
I'm a grandpa.
So,
Not really.
No, that's a little far away. I have our angel hair pasta here, and I'm going to add it to our tomato sauce. It's thickened up really nicely, and it's just going to finish coming together for our spaghetti.
Isabel asked, could you make shells out of cheese like in Food Network?
Yeah, you can do that. If you shave Parmesan super thin, or you can do cheddar cheese, whatever kind you'd want. It's going to break a lot easier. They'll be a lot more fragile just because of cheese's integrity versus our nice little flour tortillas here. But yeah, whatever, I think cheese is always a good option whenever you're making things. More cheese is always a good choice.
That sauce smells so good.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's actually smelling like spaghetti. That's always the first, we're making this hurdles. We have our spaghetti for sure. Now we're just going to make our tacos go with this. Do you want to kind of stir it together?
Sure.
You got this.
Can.
I believe in you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to put our shells into our oven. It's preheated to 375 degrees. And it's going to be about 10 minutes to 12 minutes depending on your oven. Make sure you check them though, because you don't want a burnt shell. It's not fun.
No. Now, when I was little, I loved pasta with like no sauce in it.
Yeah, I don't like too much sauce. Plus, with our shells, they'll get a little soggy if you add too much.
Because I love carbs. I love bread.
Oprah loves bread, doesn't she?
Yes, Oprah loves bread.
How do you usually make your pasta at home, Noah?
Me?
Yeah.
What do I do? I actually haven't had much angel hair pasta, but when I have had it, I've really, really liked it. I kind of wish I got it more often. Sometimes I put in basil, like I take fresh basil and I put it in a blender and kind of use it as a seasoning. Sometimes I have, ground turkey is actually really good. I've used ground turkey in pasta. I got really into that this summer. And, I kind of go back and forth between marinara sauce and Alfredo sauce.
Yeah.
Just kind of depends on my mood.
My favorite thing to do with angel hair, and my brother Dylan attests to this, is make shrimp scampi with it.
Yes.
That's a really good combo. Okay, we're just putting this into our bowl. Actually, I'll use this thing. Our little spatula. Don't want to scrape the pan, but we got to get all this deliciousness out of it.
We're getting a lot of requests for Noah to sing again. Noah, do you...
Oh my gosh!
Do you also...
give the people what they want, right?
Yeah, what should I sing?
Do you always sing while cooking? Do you think it's necessary?
Do I think it's necessary? No. Do I think it makes cooking more fun? Yes.
You gotta spread your talents. You have talent of cooking and then your talent of singing.
My talent of cooking is like...
Hey, this
low, but...
this spaghetti he tossed looks pretty amazing.
Thank you. Aw, shucks.
Okay, so I made some shells right before our show started, and they got super puffy and really crispy, and they look like legit.
They do.
They smell like our Italian seasoning too. Okay, you ready for some spaghetti?
Yeah.
You can always add more tomato sauce if you like it a little thicker.
How long would you let the shell cool after taking it out of the oven?
Only like a minute. You want to be able to enjoy your food, so it shouldn't be too hot.
Yeah.
But they'll cool off super fast, so you really don't have to worry about that. Okay. I think we need to overflow with the spaghetti. That's the way to
If you do want to hear me sing more, shameless plug, I have a YouTube channel, Noah Lindquist. I have some stuff on there that's fun. Yeah.
He's pretty good. Okay, so I have some Parmesan cheese because we have to add some cheese to our spaghetti. You could use any kind of cheese you like. Goat cheese would be good. You could do feta, cheddar cheese, whatever you're feeling. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
It needs to be messy. That's the point of.
Yeah.
I don't think it was clean when they did it on my.
No, it was always like cafeteria.
I think this is
food
a lot
almost.
cleaner than.
This is actually like super classy. Cheers.
Cheers.
Attractive.
We are so attractive right now, but I'm really happy with my food, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Isabella asks, what other type of toppings could you put on there?
You can add really whatever you want. Cheese, onions. Excuse me. I don't want to choke on my shell. You could also add basil to kind of make it look like lettuce. And you could do mushrooms. It'd be cool to kind of do like a bar, so then you could make like the normal marinara, and then everyone
like
could
a taco
choose.
bar.
Yeah, exactly, like a taco bar.
I wonder if like, not necessarily guacamole, but like
some kind of, you could do
Some
like
sort of avocado.
I've made avocado pesto before. That'd be really good.
Ooh,
as a
that sounds
topping.
really
Because then
good.
you get the basil and the avocado
Yeah.
with it, and made creamy too, like your cheese. But then that way, because I mean, some people don't like avocado, some people don't like mushrooms. If you make it a bar, then they kind of cater it to however they like it, and then it's friendly for all your friends.
Yeah.
This would be good for, like, you know how swimmers and cross country people have like pasta nights to carb up.
I know for my cross country days.
Yeah, I did swimming for 1 year and we had pasta parties. But this would be a good, I mean, you got the carbs from your shell and your pasta. And who needs forks when you have a shell? That's good. Okay, friends, well, cheers to spaghetti tacos and to iCarly.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I have a friend here. Yeah, there he is. There's good old Spencer.
Spencer.
He's
Jerry Trainer.
the original chef. Thank you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Watch him on YouTube.